Hey y'all, how you doing? March 5th, we're back out in the garage. As you can see, with a smile on my face. I've been out here all day. Not all day. Probably after church, rumbled around, put a bunch of your checks in the bank to clear for the test day weekend. I was just talking to Sam at the racetrack on some text messaging there. So here we are, 5th of March, back at it. I'm out here, as I promised, I'm working on these brake parts first. Little bench work first. Clutch is next, Richard. Take it easy. You see, we took off the metric brake lines, the metric fittings, right? The metric fittings that were here as well, and the T that was here. And we're replacing this all with American stuff. So we have to run a tap through, an 1/8 inch pipe tap through, because that's what we're using, 1/8 inch pipe. Dash 3 AN, right, for the brake lines. This brake line is a little long. This one I had laying around. We're going to have to get with Brad at Paul Martin and get some 9-inchers. Those are 11-inchers. They're a little bit too long. You don't want to kink this thing here. It doesn't matter really how far it hangs out. It ain't going to hurt nothing, but we want it as short as possible so it doesn't look gaudy, right? We wire wheeled everything up. These are still filthy dirty. We're going to have to get into cleaning those a bit. But this really is a process. It isn't plug and play, right? As you can see, opposite side, sorry. As you can see, you see this surface, this top surface here is blue. On here it's not. Why? Because I had to cut it down. I had to cut it down. Once we run our we have to tap drill into that little tiny hole. See, it looks like that right there, where that little Allen bolt with the washer, fiber washer goes in. That's your bleeder. That's your Italian bleeder screw. I'm sorry, but that's not a bleeder screw. This is a bleeder, okay? And that's what we're putting in. So we took and removed these two tiny little, you see them there, these two tiny little deals here. You run a 2164 drill bit down, and it's got to be enough that we can get threads in. Now, why do I have two different length taps for the same thread? This is 1/8 inch pipe, so it's tapered. You see I get a little line on there. For this to actually fit the taper of the fittings, and all of them are pretty much the same. The starting of the 1/8 inch fitting is well up this tap, and if you've got a blind hole and this thing bottoms out, that thread at the end of there is useless. I mean, this thing will just barely get started, maybe just a thread or so, and then it gets tight. So what I've been doing is I get started with this one, and then I take it out and I go back with this one a little bit, and then check it for depth, maybe a little bit more, check it for depth. You don't want to just run this thing in, because it'll end up bottoming out on the bottom of the hex before the taper actually starts tightening up. Done this a bunch of times. I've screwed it up a few times too. That's how I know what I'm doing. But we worked it out on this set here. So we took our time getting all this dialed in, cleaned everything up. The new seals are in there. That one there is ready to go, other than getting with Brad, Paul Martin, and getting shorter loop brake fittings here. He's got what does he call them? Jumpers, I think that's what he calls them. So we'll continue on down the line. Like I said, everything is cleaned up other than this caliper itself. Little different approach on this rear. I believe this has got to be the top. Yeah, there's the logo. Here's our bleeder here. We're going to have to be careful. We might have to do this on the drill press. Instead of just opening this to 2164s, we might have to actually bring the center over and come down, because we don't want to bust into anything here. But then again, we got extra thickness here. I'm not worried. I did all this on the GP cart that I built up into the little super cart and then sold off. Exact same calipers, except those were gold and they said GP instead of blue with the Renspeed logo on. Exactly the same setup, because it's basically all CRG. So that's where we're at. Little first day outside, and about, I don't know, 3 hours or so. Really taking our time, making sure everything was clean. No burrs on the drill holes or the you know the tapping where it comes into your fit or your bladder back in here, your reservoir for your pistons. We don't want those new seals getting chewed up. We're hoping this is going to fix this stuff up and we don't have any bleed issues, air leaking, or fluid leaking issues. If we do, we'll just 86 that stuff and we'll go with the next available. That's right. That's right. We'll RPM this bad boy all the way up, all four corners. So there we go. That's where we're going to start with this. The seals were cheap enough to get a hold of. I think we got those from Mondo. Here they are here. The rear ones are the big solid ones. The little ones with the holes in them are obviously for these pistons here that go in that front. So we'll get this stuff done. We'll put it in the box. We'll put the box on the other side and stash it, right? And then we'll get into Richie's clutch. He was, believe it or not, Bob's. I hope you're sitting down. I went over to the trailer to get, the other fit or other tap, so I could, do this in two different steps. And stopped over and talked to Rich, and I know Rich is going to be watching this too, but I was a little stunned. He says, well, maybe next weekend, I get home and I'm going to start working on that go-kart if you get that clutch done. And then, of course, he says, I don't know nothing about the brakes, so I'm going to be over there. He's going to want me to put that go-kart back together, the brakes and stuff. I mean, big muscle car hot rod guy can't look at parts and pieces and put it back together. I'm just kidding you, Rich. But, yeah, I don't know if we'll be able to get that thing ready in 3 or 4 weeks to go over here to Grattan. Me personally, helping him, supervising him getting the brakes together and all that stuff, not too big a deal. But I'm not convinced those engines are straight, square, and have the proper clearance in them just because of where they came from. So before you blow them up, I mean, they got new pistons in them and stuff, new parts and pieces. Before you just go out there and blow them up because you don't know, take the darn things apart. We got a bore gauge. We got all the tools we need. So let's check it out, right? Let's make sure the things are round and straight and square and got the proper clearance. So that's it for the 5th. We're out here. I'm trying not to hit that button. Out here getting things started. Another couple of weeks, the 19th, the doc said I would be free and clear. So I figure if I start easing my way in now, by the 19th, I should be up to full speed. I'll be honest with you, after 3 hours out here, my back is a little sore. The muscle's a little sore because I haven't really been on my feet walking around working, in 10 weeks. So it's been a while. But we'll bring you some more. Godspeed. God bless. Hang in there. We're praying for you. We're praying for Dave Lee as well.